Hey everybody, how we doing today? So, happy to announce a new line of All About the Bait jig heads. And here they are, the new All About the Bait jig heads. Now I haven't come up with a name for these yet, but I'm thinking something Cobra-esque. Because if you look at them, they definitely got that Cobra appearance to them. Especially when you see the scaled backing there. I'll give you some more defined pictures there that you can take a look at. But anyways, realistically what they are is just an offshoot of the old school banana jig heads. I think they call them slipper jig heads as well. But these have my own personal variants that I changed because I want them for some other purposes. One of them being is to subsidize my line of Yellowtail snapper jigs. Okay, so it's basically an extension, plus they're going to be kind of on their own. Now this line of jig heads come in 3 different sizes. We've got the 1/4 ounce, which is based off of a 2/0 hook. You've got the 1/2 ounce, which is based off of a 3/0 hook. And you've got the 3/4 ounce, and that's based off of a 4/0 hook. Now these are Mustad's top of the line jig head hooks. They're a 60-degree bend. They're the wide gap, and they're the 2X strong. The best that Mustad makes. Most of the time you'll find these jig heads, they'll have either the heavy-duty thin wire or that Duratin style hooks. These are the 2X strong, the good stuff. Now there's 3 specific reasons why I had these jig heads created. First, like I mentioned earlier, is to work in conjunction with the Yellowtail snapper jigs. Now I've got these in the sizes of 1/32 ounce, 1/16 ounce, and 1/8 ounce. And that tends to work good for catching that upper and mid water column. But you'll hear me say all the time is try to target top, middle, and bottom. That's why these jig heads will allow you to do is with that extra weight of a 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4 ounce is to get that bait drifting down maybe in the heavier current or more extreme depths where these jigs just are not going to be enough to get it down. Also, for instance, right now during the mangrove snapper spawn, you'll find schooling fish, bulk of schooling fish, and all you need to do is get that bait down to where they're at. So you don't need to drift into them, you just need to drop it on their head and they're going to gobble it up and then you can pull them up. So that's what these jig heads will allow you to do. Now the second reason why I designed these jig heads are these, the 2 prongs there. And they're basically artificial bait holders. Now normally when you find these jig heads, you'll find them with just the rounded collar, just plain, or you'll find them rounded with a raised edge along the end there. And that's for people making custom jig heads. So they'll put the deer hair on, wind the thread, and that little raised portion will keep it from sliding off. Now what I was thinking though is that these would work excellent with artificial baits. Now not only like with the paddle tails, but think some sort of artificial shrimp. The reason why is these jig heads are bottom heavy. So when they hit the seafloor, they sit with the hook up. And then you have like an artificial shrimp and just bouncing that bait along the bottom, how enticing that would be. Also, because these prongs are still just made out of the soft lead, you can easily, if you don't want them, you can just take some dikes, cut them off. Or if you're using some thinner style soft plastics, you can basically take your pliers and cinch them down so that they're a little bit thinner. Or you can do the same thing and kind of crunch them almost all the way and they'll hold your wraps if you were making bucktail jigs. But the key thing is, bouncing an artificial bait or even some cut bait along that bottom will work awesome with these jigs. Now the third reason for building these jig heads are fishing structure. Now for me, I go to the backcountry, I find those islands, usually one side will have the current on it, and what happens, that current basically digs out a channel and makes a super deep cut. So you'll have the mangrove overhang, then you'll have the roots, and then it basically goes drop off, and then you have it built out underneath, and that's where those big fish tend to hang out, just waiting to ambush dinner. So with these jig heads and the added weight will allow me to do is I'll take a live pinfish, nose hook it, and I'll be able to pitch it right underneath those mangrove branches and know that that bait is just going to sink straight down to the bottom where those big fish are lurking. If you don't have enough weight on it, what happens is it kind of swims away from you, and then you're caught up in the roots. No difference if you're fishing off of the bridges and you want to get it right next to those pilings, or you've got fishing trees for snook or redfish or structure, any type of just structure where you don't want it into the structure, but you want it right along that bottom where those fish are going to be coming out and ambushing. That's what these guys are going to allow me to do. So those are the three main reasons why I had these jig heads built. But overall, the key reason why is I couldn't find these on the market with these properties on it. For example, with my paddle tail jig heads that I sell, I cast a paddle tail out here and I hook into a 100-pound tarpon, because it happens. I wanted to make sure that those hooks weren't going to straighten out and I lose that tarpon because of some cheap jig heads. Hence, build my own. No different than these jig heads. I drop these down into the deep dark blue. Yeah, I might pick up a nice mutton snapper, but I also might hook into a 50-pound grouper. And I wanted to make sure that these weren't the weakest link. Sure, other things might break, but I know these jig heads will be solid. So overall, those are the key reasons. I just couldn't find these on the market. Something with a 2X strong, super heavy duty that I could rely on. And also with the bait prongs, knowing that that's a strategy of bouncing a nice artificial or gulp shrimp along that bottom would be so effective. But not having those prongs on there means that those artificial baits just won't attach correctly and stay on. So hence, build my own baby. Now let's talk pricing and availability. I can tell you right off the bat, I'm going to price these to be competitive with or cheaper than those cheap jig heads that are on the market right now, even though mine has the 2X strong mustads and the bait prongs on them. Now the key reasons why I'm doing that is because I know how much fishing costs. I'm a fisherman. All this stuff, I used to go down the store, break out that credit card, get that receipt and go, ugh. Okay, but that was the key reasons why I built the All About the Bait store as well, is try to make things a little bit more reasonable for the average guy out there. And I know what the margins are involved on this stuff, and I take a bit of a hit on that, but my costs are a lot less because I keep everything in-house. I'm a one-man team, and I could pass those savings on and make them actually more competitive. But wait, there's more. I'm actually going to blow those cheap jig prices out of the water. And I'm going to do that because I offer free shipping. And the why I'm going to do that is I'm going to offer bulk packs. For example, you buy a 5-pack of the jig heads, they're going to run roughly around $2 a jig head. You buy a 10-pack, $1.50, $1.75 each. But you buy a 25-pack and then they're going to come out to about $1, $1.25 each. Huge price difference because of that bulk pricing. And it's all due to the free shipping, well, and my margin cuts. But what happens is because I offer free shipping, whether it's one 5-pack, I get charged $3, $4 to send a 5-pack. I send a 25-pack, it might cost me $5 to send that 25-pack versus $4 5 times, $20 in shipping, $5 one time, it's $15 difference between a small pack and a 25-pack. And I push those savings on to you guys because fishing is expensive. Now that messes with the availability side of it. Now, for instance, on the paddle tail jig heads, I released them, but I only sold them as 5 and 10 packs. And the reason why I did that is because Mustad only runs my custom order hooks every 2 months to 3 months. And they won't skip in line even though I bought close to 300,000 hooks from them. 2 months, 2 months, 2 months. And that's all I could do. So if I would have did a bulk pack on those jig heads right off the bat, I would have sold out in a week to 2 weeks. And then I would have had a month and a half of not having any jig heads to sell. So I kept it limited to those 5 and 10 packs. I am going to be getting the backup stock for those jig heads this next couple weeks. So I figured I might as well just blow these out by just adding the 25 packs and just give you guys a fair warning. I'm going to do that. Once I sell out, that's it for about 2 months until I can get the resupply, which will be a larger, because I do an initial run, which is kind of smaller than my usual runs, because I want to test out the production to make sure the bulk production is working effectively before I do a 5,000 to 10,000 per piece run on them. So just be fair warned on that. So otherwise, check out the jig heads at www.allaboutthebait.com. See you next video. Bye.